to welcome EB to the program here this morning. The founder and principal of EAB Strategies, Elisabeth Barna, is with us. Hey, Elisabeth, and you're not at home, are you?
I am not. Good morning, Dave. How are you?
Doing fantastic. Jimmy Mack is here as well. And where are you, in Indiana or Ohio at the moment?
I am in Ohio for the Ohio Trucking Association meeting. It kicks off at 11:30 today, and then I'll be here for 2 days and then head to French Lick, Indiana for the Indiana Motor Truck Association annual meeting.
Right. I think are you heading to Michigan, or were you just in Michigan?
I was in Tennessee for their annual meeting, the
Tennessee
Trucking Association. Yeah. Although Michigan would be beautiful this time of year. Tennessee was in Destin, Florida, so you can't beat the ocean.
It's funny where it's hard to find a state association that has their meeting in the state, in the same state.
I know. I was just telling somebody that. I said Ohio is actually in the same city where their state association meeting headquarters are. So that's that's different for once. You know, it's where they actually are. So that'll be nice for them.
One of the best times
state association season.
Yeah. By the way, one of the best times I've ever spent in Georgia was for the North Carolina Trucking Association. I always tell people that all the time. I'm not kidding. It was great. It was in Savannah. It was fantastic.
Isn't that funny?
I love that. I get it though, by the way. People, one of the things is that, you spend enough time in a particular state, you love it. I mean, look, North Carolina is gorgeous. Texas is wonderful. I just spent time in East Ohio, had a great time down there. But I get it, man. You spend your whole life or your whole business life in one particular place, and you got to say, you know what? Let's all go someplace else and have a little fun and get our heads clear. 30,000-foot view. Go ahead, Elizabeth.
I think some folks use it like for family vacations, especially like when you go to the beach. There was a lot of families that came for that. And I was talking to some of the Tennessee folks, Tommy Hodges with Titan. Tommy said, we've tried everything and everybody just always wants to come back here. So why fix something that's not broken,
Yeah. Is there a theme? Is there a common thread? Well, there's always a thread and a theme in trucking. We all share the same wins and losses. But what's at the top of the list? What's bubbling up like in these states, Tennessee, Ohio, Indiana? They're all in the same area of the country. And, of course, regionalization has been, huge. So what affects that region may not affect this other region, especially when it comes to things like parking and stuff. So what does that – is it a regional kind of a thing that you feel in that part of the country?
I think overall, obviously the economy is a big thing. And there's been obviously I haven't been to the Ohio, I haven't heard that yet, or Indiana, but I have been to a couple other conferences, and there's been different economists, which has been interesting to get different takes. Like in Tennessee, they had somebody from the University of Tennessee, so he did was very Tennessee specific, I would say. But obviously the economy is very big, and when there'll be a recovery really for trucking. But cargo theft has been dominant in every meeting I've been to recently, and has been on the rise. I was really, I guess I would say, shocked to find out what the number one and hottest item that has been is on the hit list, and that's energy drinks and alcohol.
Oh yeah,
which I didn't realize that. Last year was refrigerators, and 2 years ago were solar panels. So there was a speaker from Travelers Insurance that I just did a fantastic job. And, when he asked the audience, what do you think the number one, product is? And nobody got it right, but it was energy drinks and alcohol. And they can repackage them and sell them in smaller, loads, or then they take them overseas.
Yeah.
Well, the overseas, it seems to me like the overseas one is the solar panels, and that the energy drinks become like the cigarettes of the modern era, where you
Right.
can hijack the cigarette truck and you can sell them by the pack. You can, or my favorite thing is, boy, people got in trouble for this. Open the pack up and put the little cup. Remember that in the old days? You put the cup on the counter with the cigarettes in it and tell people, yeah, man, it's 25 cents a smoke. That's pure profit right there. Although not anymore. But that was pure profit back then. Yeah, you can have a cigarette. 15 cents,
So you
20
can have a
cents.
cigarette. Yeah. And then I think the other thing is, hiring drivers. And, what is the right driver to hire? There's so many different demographics now. The drivers that want to be home every night, the drivers that want to be home every other night, or Sunday to Friday is still good for them. But making sure that you're actually getting quality drivers, or drivers that want to be in the trucking industry and actually want to drive, so you're not spending the money to hire them and then, 90 days later they're gone. And what is the right formula for that? What's the secret sauce?
Yeah, trucking is weird in one regard, in that through the history of trucking, the 100+ year history, it's a long distance occupation, so you're going to be gone. And there was no consideration for the driver whatsoever. I mean, if it was cold, you could stop and sleep. You'd go out and lay on the hood of the truck to get warm. I mean, literally, and that's where TMC came. The regulated common carriers back in the 50s used to have these meetings, and they would force these companies to do something about these trucks for these drivers, and on and on and on. But what I'm getting at is that trucking started off in a completely different societal era, to where the father, the husband, the dad was the breadwinner, and that was job 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. That was it. Everything else was done by mom, and the dad took care of working. So if he was a truck driver, he was in the truck. He wasn't worried about being home. He was in the truck. There wasn't talk about being home. When I first got into this radio thing in 1972, there wasn't a lot of talk about being home. That didn't start till like the mid to late 80s, when the baby changing tables started showing up in men's rooms.
Right. It's really changed over the years, and even in the past 5 to 10 years, it's changed so much, and the home time, and what the driver wants. So that's been a big topic, and Tennessee did something pretty cool. They had it was like a debate. So they had 2 company folks that were younger generation, and then they called them the Trailblazers, and then 2 Titans that had been in the industry for over 40 years. And they asked them different questions, and then the audience voted who won that debate. But they talked a lot about culture. Yeah. And that was one where they all really agreed that culture is so important. You can't just say you have a good culture. You have to, walk the walk, and how important it is. It's a little bit different than what, how they view culture, but you have to have good culture to have a company that people want to come to work at and stay.
Elisabeth, we got to say farewell at this moment, but promise us the next time you come back that we will talk about culture in more detail. It's a conversation well worth having, and one you know a great deal about, since you are one of the cultural ambassadors of trucking. Thank you, Elisabeth.
Thank you, and to all the technicians, happy Technician Appreciation Month.